As he had mentioned, my name is Brian Fielbrandt. I'm not Mike Woodruff. Let's see if this works. There I am. So I am Brian Fielbrandt. A couple things about me. I work with Pollard Banknote now. I've worked with ObservePoint for almost a whole decade now. Previously with Michigan Lottery, a little bit of backstory there. I met up with a person from ObservePoint at a Predictive Analytics World conference. Shortly before that, I actually had a run-in. I was working on our web analytics program for Michigan Lottery. Thought I had everything set up. Somebody asked me for a very specific report. I said, yeah, sure. One day, turnaround time. I know this. I set up the tracking for it and everything. Turns out something changed between then and when they asked. I had to go back to that person and say, not only can I hit that deadline, I also don't have that data. And that is not something that I really enjoyed doing. So it was kind of fate that I mixed with ObservePoint at that conference because I just had that really bad pain point. And it was something that I never want to go through again. If you guys are in analytics or any type of data tracking, I'm sure you might have run into that too. A couple of other fun facts about me. I'm the first one to choose the Brittany mic, so that's cool. I also did not get any of my lunch on my shirt, so I'm excited about that too. And I'm really excited to talk to you guys about my company, what we do, and try to draw some parallels into how we're using ObservePoint and how that blends with your companies or how that blends with some things that you guys are doing too. So prioritizing proactivity, how one customer makes web governance easy with ObservePoint. Exactly to that point. I want to use ObservePoint, and I've historically been using ObservePoint to be proactive about this stuff. Because like I said, I never want to get into that position again where I promise somebody something thinking that I had the data that I expected to have, only to turn around and not have that data anymore. So a lot of what I do day in and day out, and a lot of the things that my team does day in, day out, is use ObservePoint to monitor and to work with different developing partners and different audiences to make sure that the data is coming through the way we expect it to, and are also getting alerted when that's not happening and working as quickly to circumvent that as possible. Before I get into the meat of my presentation, I do want to show some gratitude to the people that put this event on. I love this event. My team loves this event. I think there's a lot of people out here that love this event. Routinely every year, it's almost an argument between me and my team who gets to come to the ObservePoint event. And that's because we always leave here enthusiastic, and we always want to start doing things immediately when we leave here, and it's super cool. And it's unlike some of the other conferences that we go to where we take a lot of notes and we don't actually actuate that or activate that directly after. We've been coming here for a little over 5 years. My first one was 5 or 6 years ago. I immediately activated a few different things that they showed during that conference. Emily and David have been here previously in other years. Maybe you guys have run into them. But every time we come back, we're like, hey, we need to do this. ObservePoint just launched this. We need to be on the front grounds of that. So really appreciate the organizers of this event. It is very cool. So what's Pollard Banknote? As you heard, we service lotteries across the globe. We are a global business. Pollard is not a bank, as is in the name, but they are a generational family business that has historically been printing retail tickets, doing the distribution and the warehousing of retail lottery tickets. As you can see up here, the Jungle Crossword is really a mainstay, or the Crossword product is a mainstay of the Pollard brand. They're the first to create and patent that latex that you can see through it and then scratch off. Since then, over the last 10 years, lotteries, much like other business-to-consumer industries, have been shifting from a retail product to a more digital presence. And Pollard has really been an advocate for lotteries all across the world to help them get to that position, whether that be creating a native app where players can scan their ticket to see if they're a winner, establishing a loyalty program similar to what you see in airlines or in coffee shops, and even recently building games for online. These games mimic what you would play at retail, where you put money into an online wallet, and then you can purchase these games, and the animation is an instant game where you can win real money there. So the lottery industry, May not be your industry, but I think it draws a lot of parallels to what you have, and I'll go through a lot of these different things, and we'll see if we can draw some connections there. So maybe first and foremost, you'll see this. This is my trigger to say we're about to do a Slido. So if you have your phone, if you did a Slido earlier today, anytime you see an image like this means there's about to be a Slido. This one specifically, I want to know how you guys have played the lottery before. So I'm going to put this up on the screen. If you haven't done the QR code, feel free to do the QR code. Let me know if you've ever interacted with the lottery, whether that's an instant game that you purchase at retail, scratch off, go get your money. The draw-based games are a little different. Draw-based games are you purchase a ticket, wait for a drawing, and then if your numbers come up, then you go in and you get your funds or get the money that you've won there. Online instant games, kind of mentioned before, it's a replication of what we have at retail, just with that online component and online animation. And then also, I have a section here for lottery isn't available where I live. I don't know, I think this is supposed to be tallying at this point in time. Oh my goodness. Okay, raise of hands. Wait, Abby's on it. No. That's all right. We can do this similar to how Kyle was doing it. We can do analog, right? So maybe raise your hand if you've never played the lottery. I'm not counting. That's a lot. That's like 60%. So I'm guessing 60%. Raise your hand if you've... Oh, is it working? Jinxed it. We're at 60% people do not play the lottery or have no experience playing the lottery. That's fine. That's why I expected when I speak at lottery conferences, it's vastly different. Everybody at lottery conferences has played the lottery to some extent. We're at a data governance conference, so my expectations are a little bit reversed, right? So my presentation today is going to be less about what lotteries should be doing and more about how we as a data industry can be using the tools that ObservePoint provides us to ensure that we have that data governance and do that on a proactive basis. I heard, oh yeah, it worked. Okay. Well, my visual keys were wrong because I said 60% had not played it, but we're not that bad. We've got a few people that know what the lottery is, so that's great. Cool. Thank you for interacting with me. There's going to be 3 more, so keep an eye out for those. I'm going to keep on doing this. Wanted to bring up this map. Definitely not as beautiful as Rebecca's map earlier. I should have used her map. But this is taken from a site that just explains where the North American states are and their lottery jurisdictions and their governance. So for Utah, 44% said they haven't played lottery. It's not in their state. I expected that coming to Utah and presenting here. You're not alone. 3 other states don't have a lottery. So we see Nevada, Alaska, Alabama don't have a lottery. Important to me, and maybe important to drawing that connection to you if you're a business to consumer, is those states that are in green. These states are states that have since moved from just providing lottery at retail. Now they provide it online, right? Those are those online game components. We also have some different colors on these states. The yellow ones are really important to me in my business because these are states that have tried launching online, and the government in that state denied that. What you'll see is states will continually, as the governor changes in that state, they'll renew this because the lottery does provide a ton of tax revenue to the state, and it's a really good opportunity for states to drive funds to good causes. And then there's states that are purple. Texas, there are messenger services that act similar to like a DoorDash. So you can actually purchase your ticket online. They'll go out to the store and they'll bring it to you. Yeah. And you can imagine with all these different opportunities, there's a lot of different angles that we need to be pulling data from and understanding that user journey, right? So our user journeys aren't just people going into the store and purchasing. They're not just participating in loyalty. They're people that are using subscription services, going online and playing that way too. All right, so trying to draw a little bit more parallel here. Lotteries today are actively trying to grow their digital presence. And this isn't much different than business to business, business to consumer. And one of the struggles that they have is as that digital component grows and grows, so does the sales channels and the different areas where that customer touch point is. And as those channels expand and as we start influencing that content over different channels, our clickstream strategy starts to expand. And as that expands, it gets messy, right? We're no longer working with just one vendor or one developer. We're working with multiple developers, multiple vendors, and ensuring that they're processing data to our standards and they're completely covered in the data that they're capturing. We don't have any leakage. We don't have any data missing, right? We have complete coverage. For my team, clickstream strategy really involves all those touch points. So whether or not you're viewing something on a social post, if you're going to the website, clicking through it, if you've gotten an email and you clicked on that email, even watching videos. So with the lottery, similar to other industries, there are YouTube videos about everything. So there are YouTube videos of people scratching their scratch tickets too. And this is also a clickstream element as well. And at this point, usually my analysts start getting questions from all these different audiences, right? How did potential players show up to my website? Did they see the content that they need to see? Were they able to complete those primary funnels that we need to move them through? Are we giving them the tools that they need to do or the tools that they want and the services that they actually want? And these questions can be scattered throughout different audiences and different stakeholders too, with different intents. So again, as our clickstream strategy continues to evolve and continues to broaden, so do those questions and so do those audiences that we need to analyze for. So having a really strong data governance plan in place is really important for us there. Quickly, just as a point of emphasis, clickstream strategy and the data that we're collecting in this realm or in the web analytics realm doesn't replace your operational and your sales data. So retail lotteries, retail organizations historically have relied on sales and operational data to drive product decisions, drive all their strategy. So if a product's selling well, they'll put more effort into that product. Clickstream strategy is really there to provide more color to that operational and that sales data. So anything that we can do to further define a user's journey or how a user is interacting with that product that isn't just that point of sale is going to provide so much more analysis effort and visual and be able to visualize that data in a much more strategic manner. So now rather than just saying, hey, this product sells the most out of all 5 of our products, we can say, of this segment of players, they approach this product in this way. Or we have abandonment issues at this point in our primary funnel, where if we clean that up, we can see a 20% increase. So just a reminder here, we're not doing away with the operational and sales data. We're providing color to that, and we're making it that much more effective. So lotteries, as I'm trying to establish, is not much different from customer to or business to customer, business to business. We identify a common user journey to get to our product. So that starts with product awareness. This is where somebody is aware that that product exists. So for lottery, that is somebody that has some disposable income, has some entertainment time that they want to burn. They have a lot of different options in our industry, similar to a clothing industry or any other retail industry. You have different options at your disposal. At the product awareness phase, we're hoping the word of mouth and the organic marketing that we have out there at least gets us to be part of that decision making. From there, our traditional and digital marketing really starts to take effect. Once the person is aware of that, we want to make sure our paid media is in the right place at the right time so that we can approach that player and give them the right amount of information as to why they should be spending their time with our product. And provided our marketing does its job and does what we expect it to do, we drive that retail purchase. Hopefully we can also drive them to perform an account sign-up. That way we can start to put some details around that purchase behavior, right? And provided, as Rebecca said, we have the right policies in place, we can start stitching that data together to understand what drove that person to make that account sign up or that first registration or that first retail purchase. And the magic really is in that account sign up, because with that account sign up, then we can get some of that consent set up. We can also start to understand that player better by putting together all their play behavior with their on-site behavior, and we can understand that player and hopefully drive some strategy to get them to, again, purchase at retail or start to purchase online or interact with our loyalty products. Now, once they interact with the loyalty products or play online or return to retail, it's really important that we, as analysts, provide the stakeholders the right direction to get them to continue playing at retail. Otherwise, they're going to wane off. But what we really want to drive is strong brand advocacy. So here, at this point, we're driving somebody to be extremely loyal to the brand and hoping that they'll continue to have that entertainment value and be satisfied by that product to the extent that they want to tell their friends or continue that word of mouth. Looking at this journey, hopefully you guys see some similar journey to the things that you're analyzing or to the companies that you're working with. But I do want to take a moment and look at this and just say, this is from 1 to 5. There's any number of data points that we're trying to pull. And those data points, as I had mentioned before, are coming from many different developing companies, many different vendors, and many different sources that, as a data analytics team, for those of you on data analytics teams, you don't get much traction when you're talking to those vendors. If you tell them you need this data point, they have other priorities in place. So it's really important for our data analysis team to have tools such as ObservePoint to start to express some of our expertise in this environment. And you'll start to see that when I go through the tools that we're using ObservePoint for. But at this point, the data that we're really trying to collect and the data that we need to be aware of, really at that number one spot, here our analysts are trying to collect anything that they can to understand marketing audiences. For the lottery, this is really important because we don't want to spend our SEO and our time, organic efforts on players that may have already enrolled in our programs or maybe have already interacted with the lottery. They're already aware of it. We can be spending our time and our strategy much better for marketing audiences that aren't so much aware of it, that are of higher value at this point. From there, on the traditional and digital marketing, establishing a strategy and some standards there. I heard somebody earlier talk about ensuring that those standards are followed. I think, Rebecca, you'd mentioned making sure that they're of the right size so they fit all of our tools, right? And this is something historically, as I've worked with lotteries over the past decade, has been problematic because there are so many different platforms that we're doing paid media, especially digital media, where the links and the URLs that they're using don't follow the standards that we need for tracking, especially for those URL parameters that are so helpful for us to identify where a player is coming from, what content they saw before they arrived on the site, and what content they're interested in seeing going further. So ObservePoint here for us is something that is incredibly valuable as we work with those agencies to express, hey, this is the standard that you should be following. This is what's actually happening. We need that changed or we need that updated. Then at the account sign up, and I have in here ticket entry. I keep putting different things in here. Lotteries have like 5 or 6 primary funnels. I'm sure that the companies that you work with have a lot of primary funnels too. But the lottery primary funnels really are creating that account, interacting with the mobile application or downloading that mobile application, following a ticket scan activity to engage with our brand, and then finally playing online. So we have that online shopping cart, or we have the e-insta online player funnel. I put it on here at this point because realistically, all the touch points that we're monitoring here should be internal development. And for us to miss any data point on any of those user journeys or any of those interaction points within those primary funnels is completely on us as data governance people, right? We need to ensure that our own developers are providing the data in the format and in the way that we're asking them to, and constantly be monitoring this. As I had mentioned when I first stepped up here, it's embarrassing when somebody asks you where a player is falling off in this primary funnel or even a secondary funnel, and you can't tell them, right? You have to go back and say, well, we need to fix tracking, and then 2 months later, maybe I can extrapolate findings for you, right? And that's difficult for me, and that's a primary driver of why we've never wavered from ObservePoint as a tool that needs to be in our tech stack. From there, user preferences and brand loyalty. Obviously, as that account sign-up happens, we start to bring all that data together. If any of that data coming to that point isn't of the highest integrity, now we've got some tainted user preferences, we've got some tainted user segmentations and activity segmentations, which then can no longer be trusted, and we have to somehow purge all that data. And if you've worked in web analytics, you know it's not always the easiest to purge web analytics data. And it's impossible to recreate that data. It's not like an operational data set where you have read replicas of that data and you can work to readjust that. With web analytics, once that data is gone or once that data is ruined, you basically have to annotate that and then work around it. So it's really important for your production environments to have that data be as clean and have it as the highest integrity possible. And again, this is where ObservePoint helps us tremendously. And then finally, at that brand advocate level, there's so many different things that we can be collecting here to help us drive that great experience for players that are already engaged. Here, oftentimes we'll provide them promo codes that they can then give to their friends to sign up, and they'll get a bonus for a friend signing up. We routinely use our loyalty platform to provide surveys to understand what they're interested in, whether that's a current product or future products. And then we also build in some activity segmentations. What this allows us to do is to monitor as players progress in their life cycle with the product, understanding where they are in that life cycle, and being able to give them exactly what they're wanting. Again, like Rebecca was saying before, if you have ever been marketed to with something that you really aren't interested in at all, that's what we want to avoid. We only want to market to you things that are most relevant to you so that you are engaged with that and you don't hit that opt-out button, because that's kind of our lifeblood of our CRM program, is making sure players are opted in for our communications, and we're able to constantly give them exactly what they want from a marketing perspective. All right, so knowing that I have all these audiences, I'm always reporting to different audiences. My analysts will often field questions, and we have, similar to maybe what you guys have, we do have queuing resources where anytime somebody's looking for analysis or reporting, it'll go through a queue. One of my analysts will pick it up, and they'll start to work on it. Now, these requests can come from any number of different agencies, different people, different stakeholders. And what's important for my analysts to know going into something like this is that they're coming to that reporting with their own agenda, right? If they're asking, how's this primary funnel working, it's likely because they've done something to try to impact that primary funnel positively. So they already have a preconceived notion of what that reporting should look like and how it should be expressed. And oftentimes the analyst will take anywhere from 2 days to 2 weeks to actually set up that analysis, work through the data, especially if it's not a routine ad hoc report that we can just point the stakeholder to. And then they'll either meet with that audience directly, provide a presentation, provide really strong recommendations for what they can be doing differently or better. But it's also at this point that we start to see report detractors. And what I mean by report detractors are, if I'm standing up here in front of you presenting something that you have a stake in, and I'm telling you that it's not going as well as you think it's going, we'll end up having report detractors saying, well, that doesn't line up with my data, or my gut intuition says that's not right. And when that happens, I don't know if you've ran into this, when that happens, that completely washes out all the effort, because that report detractor has now planted that seed of doubt in the complete audience. And they're no longer listening to what the analysts are telling them is happening, and they're not really involved in what that strategy going forward should be. They're more involved in looking at every single data point and understanding and trying to compare that to another data set that they have, or compare that to what they think is real. I warned you, every time you see a picture like this, there's going to be a Slido question. So, with that, and here's another one. You guys don't look like this to me, so I must not have any report detractors in the audience. But sometimes this is what it looks like when you have a report detractor in the audience. They can turn the whole audience against you. So my question to you guys is, what type of report detractors tactics have you experienced? This is a multi-select, I believe. So feel free to multi-select whatever you like, and then hit that send button. That's a lot. So I've got on here questioning relevance of the report. We get this a lot. Discrediting results with gut or intuition statements. Flagging data integrity. It's moving on me. Flagging data integrity consistency issues. And claiming reporting doesn't align with goals. Looks like we have some mix of all of them. I even have a couple others. If you have an other that you want to shout out, that you think is important for everybody to know? Feel free to shout it out. Maybe it's just people falling asleep because your content is so boring. We don't have that right now. You guys are really engaged. I'm enjoying that. Okay, so we've got the flagging data. Absolutely, these are things that we want to avoid. And what we do at Pollard Banknote to avoid that, and some of the tools I'll go through that we use ObservePoint to get around that, is we actually work with developing partners. We work with the vendors. We work with the paid media agencies before they actually launch things. And what we do at those points is we use some of our ObservePoint tools to really show our expertise in what they're delivering. So what I'm showing here, if you do have an ObservePoint account, may be somewhat familiar to you. This is a North Carolina lottery account. They did give me permission to use some of the earlier screenshots that we have that we presented to them. But what I want to establish here is what my team does in terms of frequency and tools that we use the ObservePoint toolbox for. So my team routinely will run discovery audits against the lottery's site. This we set to weekly. Some lotteries have wider release schedules than North Carolina. North Carolina works with 3 different developing partners. They have a developer that sets up their homepage. They have a developer that runs their player account management, and they have a developer that runs their loyalty base. So at any point in time, there's a release going on that site that we may not be made aware of. So we always have a weekly audit running. And with that weekly audit, we're able to see what types of things are changing. And we get that early understanding of if a developing partner changed something that we weren't aware of. So that is really important to us. The other thing I want to call your attention to are all the web journeys we have set up here. So I'd mentioned lotteries have a few different primary funnels. That login, the shopping cart registration, and the interesting one that I have here is that digital instant demo mode. I'm sure if you guys aren't in the gaming industry, you don't have a digital instant demo mode primary journey, but this would be similar to somebody signing up for a white paper or downloading something from your site that creates a lead. When somebody plays a game in demo mode, they haven't put their own money into that game, they're just demoing it, and this is a really good opportunity for us to identify what game they're playing and move them into that revenue generating position that we need to. So we monitor all these. We use a data layer approach to everything that we're tagging and tracking. So that means we work with front-end developers to ensure that what they're pushing out to the data layer is exactly what we've asked them to and exactly what we've documented. So we monitor that every time that we're alerted to a new release that may change one of those journeys. And then 2 more things. The any win gets you in. I've talked about loyalty. Loyalty is really impactful to my industry. It allows for that player engagement, and it allows them to get another piece of entertainment off of any dollars that they've spent. So if you've bought $5 of retail tickets, you didn't win any of them, you can enter those in for points, and then we'll run campaigns that are time-boxed. Those campaigns like this one is an any win gets you in campaign. Simply if you enter in points for, or if you redeem points for entries into that drawing, at the end of a quarter, you could win a big drawing prize, right? Because these are one-off campaigns, what we do is we work with that loyalty developer to understand the pages that they're promoting this on, understand all the email communications, SMS communications that they're promoting these on before they actually go live. That way we can ensure that the data is set 100% coverage and of the integrity levels that we require. Without running that before it launches live, we're again going to be losing out on data, and this isn't something that we can retroactively fix. And then the final thing, that landing page validation. We've worked with many different ad agencies, paid media agencies. They all have their different approaches to tracking, pixeling websites, understanding what traffic they're driving to the site to. But what we need to do is be proactive with them and really get in front of them how we're tracking their landing page so that they have confidence in the data that we're presenting, and it causes them some pause if we're reporting out on something that their own pixel tracking isn't reporting. They take some time to understand, hey, we've gone through the effort to really govern what it is that you're putting out there and make sure that the data that we're collecting is accurate. So this one is really important to me and my team. Next, again, if you use ObservePoint, you've likely seen a screen like this. I draw it to your attention now because This screen is something that I use with my internal front-end developers routinely every time we do that audit. This really allows me to say, hey, you just had a release, this is what happened, and rather than going to them and saying, I'm not capturing this data point, and then coming back to me and saying, oh, we ran QA against that, and our QA worked with it, I can say, we ran this, I have expertise in this, and I can show you on a broad level that that tag is not actually tracking, or that data layer element isn't tracking as expected. So having the expertise from ObservePoint, the reporting functionality from ObservePoint really allows me to enter into those conversations with front-end developers, with stakeholders from that side, with that predetermined expertise, right? So that they actually have to take a moment to listen to the concerns we have from a data collection standpoint. Another thing, I was talking with somebody outside, the debugger tool that ObservePoint makes available. For me, because I am a vendor, I'm constantly reaching out to other lotteries that I can help with our data, with our clickstream strategy. So this debugger tool really allows me the opportunity to go out to their website and say, this is what your current solution is doing, right? And if you're reading this, you can tell, so this is a draw-based game modal that you can purchase online. You can see the person has made it all the way to one of the final steps where they have to select how many tickets they want to purchase, and then they'll go on to complete that purchase. If you see what the debugger tool showed us, we've got 5, this happened a little while ago, we have 5 universal analytics tags just when this modal pops up. And if you're looking at what's popping up, it's garbage, right? They're sending specifically number 2 and number 3. They're telling our data that not only did somebody open a draw-based game for Mega Millions, which is correct, but also that somebody opened an instant game in game opening demo mode. And if you remember that user journey that I talked about before, this is skewing any reporting that's coming out of that very important user journey. So now when they say, all right, how many people are we converting from open instant game demo mode to actually playing in money mode, we've skewed it by like 900%, because draw-based games draw so many more players than instant games. So there's no way that they can appreciate the analytics that goes behind this. And this is, if you are vendors, if you are actively seeking out additional business, the debugger tool is really worthwhile for me and my team, because it allows us, without running a scan, a full-on audit against their site, we can just walk through some of these user journeys and quickly identify where their tracking is not credible. Another page, or another visual that I use out of the audits is this one that shows me the average page load time. Now, average page load time can be impacted by any number of factors, right? One of those factors could be too many analytics tags going on there, right? So I do try to monitor the page load time, but this also allows me an opportunity to talk to those front-end developers on a different level and provide them some value there. So anytime we run this audit and we see page load times significantly increase, I can go back to them and I can say, hey, your page load time increased on this page, and that often opens up a deeper conversation and more of a mutual bond between my team and those front-end developers. There's also, it's not shown here, I don't think, oh yeah, you get the status codes. Also, if we're looking at a page that has a ton of failure codes, or 400 codes on it, we can go there and we can establish, hey, we found this, and provide, again, some more value to that team, so they're more responsive to us when we have data needs or data requirements going forward. Oh no, I didn't have a picture for this one. I did have a picture for this one. Who took my picture away? It might have been too sketchy. Okay, how many data sources does your analytics stack pull from? So when I ask this question, it's maybe a little pointed to the next parts of my presentation, but for lotteries, as I've been establishing, we're often gathering data from many different sources and trying to funnel that into our analytics stack. For me personally, we primarily see 3 to 10, right? And we don't generally get into more than 10. And I see that's where a lot of you guys are living too. Also, what's an analytics stack? Maybe I made that word up. I don't know. Whatever you're throwing data into and then analyzing, we'll call it that. Cool. Okay, I asked that question because another thing that we do in ObservePoint that provides a lot of value to the companies that we work with is we'll actually look at that tag coverage, not from a perspective of our own tags, right? We'll look at for that too. We want to make sure that we're 100% covered and that we don't have any duplicate tags or broken tag requests in there. But we start to look at this. There's a fly right here. Sorry. But we start to look at this from the vantage point of the lottery and understanding where there may be some data leakage or some concerns over that data. So you can see in this page, I'm aware of Google Tag Manager, previously Universal Analytics, the data layer, Facebook conversion. I'm not aware of Apps Flyer though. I don't know where that came from. If that's new, I'm going to go back to the lottery and say, what's this Apps Flyer all about? And if it's coming from a vendor or an audience that we're going to be reporting to, I'm going to have my team look deeper into those tags to make sure that they're collecting accurately too. And what this does is it gets in front of that other audience again, proactively, to say, hey, your tags are giving you this data, right? And our tags process this data differently. So when we report against this, there may be some variances, and this is why. And it gives them a chance to ask us how we're actually capturing that data versus them. And maybe we can come to some agreement or some stipulation there where they confer or they follow our standards versus having some discrepancies there, which is really important. I also talk about data leakage because oftentimes we'll run this and we'll see a lot of these tags. I'm not sure if you guys do this. We'll see tags that we just have no clue what it is, right? And it's always curious to me, like, how did this get on there, right? What did this come from, or who did this? And oftentimes we'll spend a little bit of time drilling down into that exact tag before we go to the lottery itself, just so that we have a better understanding of what it is and we can provide them more information of who they might need to check in with before just surprising them with, hey, we think you have a data leakage problem, and it's with the lottery industry, that's a serious concern, right? And I'm going to show you my favorite thing next. This. I don't know if you guys have used this. 5 years ago when I came to this conference, this was released. This is a tag hierarchy tree. I loved it. I immediately went back and I started just looking at all of my pages, seeing those tag hierarchies. As I talk about data leakage, as I talk about finding where these tags are implemented, if we're not aware of what they are, this tag hierarchy really solves a crucial role for me when I go back to those lotteries. So this isn't the same page, but if you imagine that Apps Flyer tag coming off of any one of these branches, this allows me to go right to that lottery and say, hey, I don't know what Apps Flyer is. It's on your site somewhere. It's on these specific pages. And I can start to show them exactly what container it might be coming from, or if it's directly coded into their website as well. So this I like to bring up. I show it off to a lot of people that aren't aware of ObservePoint because I think it's a great visual, and it makes me feel kind of like a private investigator, right? I can start diving into exactly where this stuff is coming from, and I can start asking the right people, why is this data being passed to this company, or why is this data going here, versus only using the sources that we're aware of, too. Oh my goodness, I lost another picture. Abby. It's okay. It's okay. So I always pepper in, I always pepper in something into my presentations, mostly because I want you to come over and talk to me afterwards. I like that feedback. I like to know kind of what you enjoyed about the presentation, what you didn't. I also like to know if you're detail-oriented and if you caught some of the things that I've peppered in. So I lost a couple images, but I want to know, did you notice it? So there was something that I peppered into my presentation today. Some of the images were lost, but that's okay. I think you can still pick up on it. So yes, Brian uses AI for his images. Absolutely. I've noticed a few other people today have used that too. Yes, my AI generator is stuck on creating images of Nicki Minaj. You may have knew Nicki Minaj was coming today based off the question earlier. I think yes to all. Yep, I use AI. Nicki Minaj is one of my favorites, and he lost me at lottery. Well, the 8% that I have that I lost you at lottery, feel free to come find me if you want to talk about data governance. Absolutely feel free to come find me if you want to talk about Nicki Minaj. I'll talk about all those things, anything you want. So I appreciate the time today. There is 3 minutes, 40 seconds for questions. Does anybody have any questions for me about absolutely anything? We do track big winners. That's more on the operational data side, but we do track big winners. For our lotteries that we deliver the online product, I was talking to a few other people, we use a customer data experience platform, which then builds all that data into a single 360 view of a customer. And using that CDXP, we can start to segment based off of those big winners, and we can start to provide them, for our big winners, it's really important from a lottery perspective, you can withdraw money out of the online portion as long as it's under $600. Anything over $600, because it is a government entity, you have to file a W-2 claim. So for our big winners, we'll actually streamline some of that communication to them and get the forms to them and automate those forms as much as possible. So that is a great use case for what we're doing.
I'll introduce you, and then I'll hand this mic to you. Perfect. What have you got here?
Powerball and Mega Millions definitely drive those high jackpots because they're multi-state games, right? So they collect winnings, and 50% of the money that goes in goes towards that prize, right? And because you can sell those games multi-jurisdictional and even some in Europe now, it can collect a lot of money and build that jackpot up really high. So those definitely are the largest wins that you can get from a lottery game. With the online component, we've started to build some multi-jurisdictional progressive jackpot games. So this is of the same vein, whereas you're playing, a portion of your ticket price goes towards that progressive jackpot and continues to build that up. But for the progressive jackpots, the math behind that is such to not allow that to get too high, because what we've seen with the Powerball and Mega Millions is you start to have some jackpot blindness or some jackpot fatigue, and it constantly takes that jackpot to get even higher the next time to build in that awareness or build in that purchase for a lot of players. So it depends on what progressive jackpot game it is and what jurisdiction it is, because the math will be such, because we don't want a progressive jackpot to last so long that people think it'll never get hit, right? So in Virginia, they had the first progressive jackpot online. What their math is established to do is to not let that get too far over 50,000, which is significantly lower than Powerball, but is a lot higher than what you would get off of an instant win prize. Nobody's going to ask what my favorite Nicki Minaj song is. That's fine. I love them all. I love them all. When somebody asks my daughter what her favorite princess is, it's routine. I love them all. So I'll take that one from her. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you.